Welcome to From the Rookery End. My name is John. With me is Jordi.
Hello.
And Mike.
Roger, all right?
All right, yes. We're outside of Vicarage Road after Watford 1, Arsenal 3. Go into the details of that in a moment. We are lifelong Watford fans, season ticket holders in the Rookery End. And as every week, as it is now weekly from the Rookery End, this is our take on life as a Watford fan. So let's have our take on this game. Mike, I always hate using this phrase. It was a game of two halves. And I'm not, even though that score was 3-1, I'm not devastated.
I'm still, I was going to say fuming, but smarting a little bit by the way the first half ended, which in effect ended the game as a contest. And you're right to say it was a game of two halves. Watford a lot better in the second than they were in the first, and there's lots of positives to take out of that, which I'm sure we'll go through shortly. But yeah, I think the overarching emotion really is a bit of disappointment, because I think we could have got something out of that with a better second half performance, if you like. If we'd have seen that second half through, going in at 2-0, you're always in with a chance. We saw what happened when we got the goal. We sort of grew in confidence. Arsenal shrank a little bit, and knowing the way they've started the season, knowing the pressure that they're under and Wenger's under, 2-1 would have been a completely different game. But obviously we let that third goal in, which for me was a real bad goal to concede. You say all you want about the delivery, you say all you want about sort of Özil ghosting in and all that, but where were our three enormous central defenders?
Because for me, that was the only real massive moment of the game, Jordi, where I was totally disappointed, was that third goal from Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, I was disappointed probably more than you then. so I can count yourself lucky. I think Mike's point about the three defenders, for me, if you play with three centre-backs, you allow yourself some advantages and you allow yourself some disadvantages, and you have to work around both of them. I think one of the advantages, particularly when you've got three guys who look like they were models for the Easter Island sculptures, is that you're going to have physical presence. No one's going to be crossing the ball in and causing you any bother. And the first goal, I think Zamrabat gave away the penalty. Whether it was or it wasn't, probably was. But why was he there when you got three centre-backs? Who were they marking? Giroud wasn't there. So who were they marking, or where were they? Ditto the third goal. Again, a cross came in, a training ground goal or a pre-season goal, and that I guess is the thing that frustrated me. And again, your point about finishing the half strongly, and in a space of about 7 minutes, we gave away the Chelsea game. In a space of about 7 minutes, we gave away the Arsenal game, and it's rendered however many are left after 180, 180 plus with the time added on. It's almost rendered those minutes irrelevant. And we let 5 goals in a row in 2 home games, and that's what kind of annoys me a bit. And hopefully, I guess the only good thing is the second half and the way we kind of went for it, rather than saying, Christ, 3-0 down here, let's damage limitation and see it out. We actually went for it. We tried something different, and hopefully that bodes well for the future.
I think Watford grew in. I think they can take heart from that first half, though. They grew into it, and
we weren't absolutely. Yeah, the early goal. It didn't feel like they then dominated that first half. It wasn't like one half where they dominated, one half where we dominated. They never really put themselves on that game 100%.
It kind of felt, for the first 25 minutes, it felt like a pre-season friendly, because I think Arsenal had got their early goal, and then both teams were kind of content to spar a little bit, and Arsenal had a lot more of the ball. I'd hate to see the possession stats for the sort of first 20, 25, maybe even half an hour. But Watford gradually, and that's the thing we've seen of Watford in the Premier League, they have grown into games, and they did that again. And I think special mention must go to Jordi Amrabat, who I think turned in another terrific performance, especially during that first half, where again the issue was that missing link, getting the ball through midfield and getting something creative out of it. We had plenty of the ball, we just weren't moving it quick enough, we weren't making the right decision with the pass. I think Guardiola won't have been surprised to be hauled off, and neither will the supporters. I think he made the wrong decision too many times and was too slow getting the ball wide. But Amrabat sort of took the ball by the horns a little bit and drove on into the Arsenal half and kind of made things happen. And it felt like the tipping point a little bit was when Amrabat seemed to get a duff decision. He skinned the Arsenal defender at the byline, and the linesman flagged for a free kick, which was, unfortunately, and we're not going to use the podcast to sort of moan about referees too much, because there's no sense in it. You don't feel any better about it. But it did seem to sort of, I don't know, it was an example of the way things went in terms of decisions. Lots of bookings for Watford, not very many for Arsenal. Lots of marginal decisions going Arsenal's way, and not really many going for Watford. So, and I think it sort of flipped on that I don't know whether the concentration went from a couple of the guys, but at that moment on, Watford seemed to really have a head of steam as much as he could have had a head of steam in that first half. And the wind came out of our sails after that decision, as far as I'm concerned.
Are we going to moan about the referee, Jordi?
Well, it'll be a hell of a long podcast if you if you ask me that question, John. I think Amrabat deserves, an award at the end of season awards for given that you can be booked for dissent, for the
Restraint.
for the control he demonstrated with a provocation from Kevin Friend, who seemed to give everything against him, from the penalty, which again may have been a fair decision, but anything, even there wasn't even 50-50, where there wasn't a decision to make, where Amrabat didn't kick the ball out of play and he had a throw-in given against him. Tiny things. It just seemed as if Amrabat had upset Kevin Friend in some way, and it was just bizarre, just watching that. Almost not bullying, but it was almost like
picking on.
It was bizarre. It was just bizarre, and it's almost like, and just you're going off, right? Well, I haven't booked you yet, just to add that, and there's so many decisions. I mean, Mike's point about the five bookings. You do wonder if there is an unconscious bias in some referees where Bellerin's tugged a player back. Well, I'll let him go off for it. It's Hector, and let him off for it. He's Arsenal, but someone else does it for Watford. Well, booking straight away. And I'm not saying they're deliberately picking on teams or picking on smaller teams, but you do wonder sometimes if there is an unconscious bias that this is a game that Arsenal should be winning, and therefore, as long as that's happening, no one's going to ask any questions of me, and I'll be okay.
I think Norden should definitely get an award at the end of the year for how he went off the pitch. Whatever, mate. Walking off, slap his hand, off he goes. Like going, I ain't interested. It was good. I like the attitude. And I'm loving the attitude of Amrabat this year. If we start the season now, player of the year, play the season, Amrabat straight away.
He certainly got his mojo back, and to have to be physically hauled back onto the pitch to be booked can only be a good thing. And I think we've talked a lot about the first half and some of the negatives in terms of dodgy officiating. I think everyone will accept that we're going to get more bad decisions than we are good. But at the end of the day, oh God, it sounds like match of the day, doesn't it? End of the day, Jeff. We were 3-0 down, probably because of 2.5 mistakes. I think it's fair to say we were the masters of our own downfall, really. And despite all the good things that we did in the first half, and they certainly got a lot better in the second, but you could argue that we had nothing to lose in the second half. So it couldn't. I mean, I spoke to my cousins at half time. Hello, John. Hello, Rich. If you're listening, and we were we were very crestfallen after that third goal, and you did fear. What can you possibly get out of a second half when you're already trailing 3-0 against a team who is renowned for being able to keep the ball and just pick teams off almost at will, and we did well in the second half.
For me, the second half was at half time was the fact that, hey, let's stick on some debutants and let them almost have freedom. Let them almost have the freedom to say, look, that happened before wasn't you. So go out there. We know we could win the game, but we know we're not going to win the game. Go out there, have fun, express yourself, and all those substitutions. What is now the main man, Big Rob, was certainly impressive.
Yeah, Bobby P.
Is he in EastEnders?
Yes, he came on and he had something to do. What I liked about Walter and his approach is, again, you can't really legislate for errors. So you can't really beat the manager with a stick about the way we were 3-0 down at half time. It wasn't necessarily down to him.
And we've just seen Walter get into his car, and I certainly wouldn't advise beating him with a stick, bearing in mind the amount of people he had around him.
a bit long stick. No, I think the fact that we didn't say, well, we're 3-0 down against Arsenal, if we try and attack, they're going to pick us off. It could be 5-0. What I don't need is that. He said, I'm going to roll the dice, see what happens, chuck on Success, chuck on Pereira. And what I liked is that even though, I think Arsenal did dominate the first half. They were in control for a lot of it. They were passing it around, not necessarily being dangerous, but they looked threatening. There were chances when they penetrated. We don't create anything. I think the nearest we came to scoring was Koscielny deflecting across towards Czech, which he saved. And I think Pereira is one of those players who we don't have in our squad and haven't had in our squad. The player maybe we hoped Gerardo would have been last season is the one who will take the ball from midfield into attack.
That was the first 3 games of the season. The first 2 games of the season. That was the missing link. It was how do you get that ball in that no man's land, or it felt like a no man's land.
That's been a missing link since probably halfway through last season, and as an alternative to Dini and Igalo, isolate, or 2 big players up front who we knock the ball long to. I think we haven't had that since we've been in the Premier League. So now we've got Success. Do we play with a diamond formation with 3 up front with Success and Igalo and Dini, and then Pereira behind? We've now those kind of questions are where you make spaces, where you confuse defenders, where you get those half-a-yard breaks, which is what Arsenal were doing to us. 1-2's on the edge of the box, and suddenly someone going through, flying across the face of goal, Sanchez scrambling it in. Those kind of things don't happen by what happens at the last minute. It's what's happened 3 or 4 seconds before that, moves that players have made. And I think if Amrabat's a great attacker, if he's got Yamat behind him to protect him, and we play with with a 4-3-3 formation, or we mix up a bit, I think then there's scope for goals, because so far in the summer was valued at about a £70 million strike force. Neither of them have scored yet.
I think the other one is though the first touch from Success.
Oh, what an absolute beaut! Just a little deft stun out of the outside of his boot, ball down the line. It was magnificent. Yeah, he was obviously waiting for that, and he announced himself to the Watford crowd in quite a spectacular way. But then I quite like this. Later on, when we were still pressing in the game, I think Capoue had the ball down on the left-hand byline and was looking to play the ball forward, and he sort of turned to go back. So why didn't you play Success in? And I looked up, and he was helping Bellerin with cramp. So he's obviously a bit of a loose cannon. But what I really did like about Success, apart from the completely random nature of his of what he does during the game, was he was moving the ball early, and changing the angle and changing the direction of attack. And he looked really good. He really looked exciting. I think he's going to be a box of tricks. I think he might well frustrate us over the year. I think he's not the finished article. But like what Jordi was saying, he got the ball across early, or he did it at a slightly different angle than might have been expected, and asked some extra questions of the defence, and gave Watford players half a yard extra, and the Arsenal players something extra to think about. And I think it was a really encouraging debut. Pereira just looks so comfortable on the ball, driving forward. He can beat a man. He does look the cut above that I think we hope he's going to be. There's a lot of pressure on him, because I think it's very rare that a problem within a team has been so obvious as it has been at Watford, and that is the link of getting the forward play going properly, really getting those guys into the game and carving proper chances. We had some sort of half chances in the second half. Iggy's overhead kick, Barami perhaps should have done better with a shot, and there are a couple of chances where a decent pass here and a decent pass there would have created a chance. But in all honesty, whilst the second half felt better, we didn't create loads. It wasn't as if Czech was sort of scrambling around the place all the time. But I think in time, if we can keep Pereira fit, I think he can do that. It looked, we've only seen him for 45 minutes, but there's a lot of pressure on him, and he needs to deliver quite quickly if Watford are going to sort of twist this round. We've got Manchester United next. Difficult.
Jordi, the other man who came on, Denzel Yamat, is the last one of Kabul also debuted today, as well as Kabasele. Hello, but he had a little bit in the second half, and certainly that right hand side felt more threatening. What's the biggest thing you're going to take from this game?
I would say probably the fact that we finished it in an attacking sense, and we have, like I said before, an alternative way of attacking. I think Mike was bigging up Pereira, and I guess we had Dini and Igalo for the first half of the season until other teams got wise to it. And if suddenly we're going to have, our alternative is Pereira, it's not enough in the Premier League to have one alternative. One, he could get injured, and two, teams start putting 2 defenders on him or kicking him up in the air, and we're back to square one. So he can create a diversion. It's down to the other players to all step up and say, well, while he's doing that, I can't then take a breather or slack. I need to up my game so that I'm there when he wants to do the quick pass, when he wants to slide it in. I know I'm going to get the ball back from him. So I think that's for me, that that Walter didn't sit back and say, well, 3-0, I'll take that, or stop it being 5-0. He actually went to try and get the game back. I
think the concern about Pereira is that I don't think he's an alternative. He is a big part of the solution, and a lot hinges on him. I think that's what I was getting at. He's not something different. He is a piece of the Plan A jigsaw that needs to work. I think quite a lot, and I think if he does come off, I feel confident that the team can work around that, and I think he will fill in where we've been missing. I come away feeling disappointed. I don't think that Watford did themselves justice at all today. Really, I think the game was gone at half time. But you do get the feeling that this is a decent-looking squad now. The substitutes that came on, Daryl Janmat, all right, the Newcastle supporters will give you loads of grief saying he's rubbish at defending, but he's a Premier League quality player. He's an international footballer. Younis Kabul, another centre-back option. I think Mrs. Britos is having a baby, so congratulations to the Britosses, to the Brit-Eye, yeah. Big up the Brit-Eye, massive, and Cathcart had a knock, and what a great situation to have two, Cabaselli is an international as well, and Kabul has got Premier League. We're in a fantastic situation to have those guys come in. Far from the finished article, a bit like Arsenal, may I add, if there's any Arsenal fans listening. You've got a long season ahead, I reckon. But I think there's a lot of, the squad feels the chunkiest, the most full of quality and different options in terms of sort of changes and substitutions that we've seen probably, I don't know, maybe even in our lifetime watching Watford. And if Matsari can knit these guys together and get them going, I think we've got some exciting times ahead.
A podcast made by Watford fans for Watford fans from the Rookery end.
Mike's surname is Parkin. He has a son called Arlo. This is our feature, Michael Parkin's son.
Hello Arlo, and thank you very much for joining us on Michael Parkin's son. How are you today?
Good.
Now we've got some news for you. Matty Vydra has left Watford and joined Derby. How do you feel about that?
Happy.
Happy? Really? Why do you feel happy?
Because I didn't like the bit. I didn't like his hair because I didn't like the bit where it went like that.
Or where it stuck up a little bit?
Yeah.
So if he had a better haircut, do you think he should have stayed?
Yeah.
And Watford got £8 million for him. Do you think we should have got more or less?
More.
Lovely. Thank you very much for joining us, Arlo. See you soon.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Kechi Anya, and you're listening to From the Rookery end.
Twitter this morning, basically Matty Vydra telling us all he's off.
Very matter of fact, John, you just said that.
Yeah, I know, but I sometimes when I'm emotional about things, Mike, I like to just brush it under the carpet a little bit.
I think you want to see someone about that. But I'm sad to see him go. And I think there is an emotive side of that, an emotional side. He's linked to some of the best moments in Watford's recent history. I think he's had a big part to play in getting us to where we are today. I still love watching that goal against Brighton, not the winning in the Premier League season, but when we got promoted, the one before that when he put the afterburners on. The goal against. There's so many great memories that are linked to Vydra. But I said in the podcast before last, we'll know whether he's done enough on the side of stuff that was lacking if he stays, and he obviously hasn't. I don't think there's
maybe it was just they offered enough money to go, well, we can't say no to that.
No, I disagree. Because I don't think any amount of money they wouldn't accept any amount of money for someone who they thought would do a job for Watford Football Club. I think that's where we're at. Certainly at the start of the season, I think he had a job to do. He had to persuade Matsari and the staff and the senior management team that his head was correct and he was going to be able to deliver for Watford. They've obviously decided that's not the case, and he's moved on. He's quite divisive, and I think people have said, fair play is obviously not up to it, and some think we could have done the job. And I feel a little bit sad that we'll never find out. And I think, if success doesn't work out, and Jerome Sinclair, who we haven't seen anything of in the Premier League yet this season, and Iggy and Troy continue to struggle, then people will say, well, we'll miss Matty Vydra. And I'll miss him from purely a fan's point of view. My son's got a picture of him with Matty Vydra on his wall, and I'm going to have to take that down now, and that will break his heart. Matty Vydra was his favourite. He was quick, he was a lethal finisher, he looked like a classic striker. And I just kind of, from an emotional point of view, I'm sad to see him go. I think we've got a strong squad, we've got excellent strike force options. So from a cold scientific point of view, they've made the decision. We'll move on.
Jordi, the international break is upon us. We've got a 2-week period with certain players going away, certain players not. Good timing, do you feel at this point?
Yeah, I think less so today, but the last 2 games I think we needed to work on our fitness. And it's one of those kind of, what do you do when you get a new manager who wants to play differently? Do you work on the tactical side of it to make sure you're not making mistakes, or do you work on the fitness side of it to make sure a Beppe pre-season or a Gianfranco pre-season?
When you say we need to work on our fitness, that very much is the royal we, because we're all sitting here very much with our post-summer coat on, if you like.
if only mine was post-summer. Mine's post-30th birthday. Nature works against you.
You'll lose that baby weight soon, Jordi, don't worry.
Maybe when I'm decomposed. I think the break has come. Obviously, we're in a bit of a glut, if you like, or a rut of bad results, including the cup match, which again doesn't count for much. But these things become habits. So get this awful start of the season out of the way. We've got three of the difficult games out of the way. It's then hit the ground, and obviously international break. Playing Man United. Hopefully they can get some players injured, because obviously most of them are international players. So hopefully it will not only work in our favour from what we need to achieve, but it will work against our opponents in the sense that it will stop them preparing for us, and we can go and go for it. I think we've shown that we make mistakes defensively, so we need to eradicate them. But we need to attack teams, because I think you can't rely on not conceding, and we're not creating enough chances. With this new kind of formation at the end, or these new faces at the end, maybe we will be more offensive. I'd like to see a bit more of that, but I think we need time on the training pitch, just everyone to get, especially with the new faces, to kind of blend in and meet everybody. So I think it has come at a very good time for us.
Yeah, agreed. I think the one disappointment is that second half was positive. I think the Watford players will come away feeling better than they thought they were going to. I think that second half was the best possible second half we could have got, apart from scoring 4 goals, obviously. So I think they will regret that they haven't got a game to build on that. But I do think the bigger picture, we've got new players come in. We've had 3 in the last week. We've said that they're going to be key players, they're going to be important players for us. So I think that extra bit of time to get on the training pitch, get to know each other, work hard, realise that we've had a tough start to the season. We knew it would be. It's materialised, it's happened. Regroup, work hard, bond as a team, come back stronger, fitter, better, ready to take on West Ham and Man United.
We went out of the cup 2-1 after extra time with Gillingham. The question I'm not going to ask you, Michael, are you bothered? Because the answer is yes, you are, because you always want to win the games. But are you devastated?
Yeah, I am, because every time Watford play, I want to see them win. And to be perfectly frank, I'm sick and tired of going out of the League Cup in the early stages when there are teams there to be beaten. Do you
think it's because we changed too much and there's like a whole other team that go on that?
No, because we can't spend our time on the podcast saying how impressed we are with the squad, and then when they make changes, not beat Gillingham. Now, absolutely no disrespect to Gillingham. I know that teams will turn up now at Watford, swish new stadium, spend 50 million quid in the transfer window. They will up their game. They lost 5-0 the week before, so they've got a point to prove. So, it's like any other game, you have to beat the opposition. But just really disappointing. I'd rather we lost in the cup than in the league, obviously, but we've got to be better in these games. And I just think winning is a habit. God, I'm so absolute cliche-tastic this week, aren't I? I'm horrific. No, winning is a habit, and who knows how that would have fed in today and how they would have started today had they sort of demolished Gillingham or got another cup game to look forward to. I just think as a club, you want to be winning every game. You want to be progressing in tournaments. But our trophy cabinet isn't exactly bulging. The League Cup is a very, very real opportunity for Watford Football Club as a piece of silverware. And yes, of course, it isn't the priority. Staying in the division is by far and away the only priority of the year. But we're a professional football club with enormous finances now, with an enormous squad, chock full of quality that we think is quality. We should be competing better in these games. I was upset.
We're the Orns, you're the Orns. Come on, you Orns!
We are also nearing the end of the lovely transfer window. We might, and I'm stressing the word might with a capital M-I-G-H and T, do a bit of a Facebook Live about the transfer window and how it's gone. Are you expecting more, Mike? Especially with Vydra going?
I think we're probably done, really, because I think the mantra has always been, if we're going to bring someone in, it has to be better than what we've got. I think we'd like to see another attacking midfielder. I think there are people still harbouring hopes of the Buffal deal going through, but I think that one's pretty much dead in the water. I think he's going to Southampton, and on top of that, he's not fit anyway. So I think that's still the area where we look like we need to improve. But I don't think there's going to be anyone that we can get in. Tommy Hoburn's gone out. We must say good luck to Tommy. Hope he has a great season at Blackburn. He's been magnificent for Watford and indeed from the rookery end. He's come on a couple of times and he's been good for us. So good luck to him. But yeah, if I had to put any sort of money on it, I'd put £2.50 on our business being done.
The only business I thought we might get is do we have to have the season-long loans in by that point as well? Because if I know we've got one season-long loan in, we can have another one, can't we? And if it's an under 21 who's young, maybe that's the sort of thing that might happen in the next couple of weeks, but it doesn't have to happen by the date, does it?
I think there's an extension for the loan window is slightly different. But yeah, there may be. We can, I guess and I hope that the scouting network, Luke and the gang, are sort of they're sniffing out something that can add to the squad. We'll see. But I feel like we said earlier, the squad feels kind of complete now. There's been some pretty. I mean, you get used to it, don't you? These, I saw Daryl Janmat signs on my phone. I was sort of getting a barbecue ready at the time. I was like, oh, that's good. But and it is good. I'm not undermining it. We spent £7 million on a Dutch international wingback, which is fantastic. But you get so used to it. So
You've changed.
I absolutely have. Yeah, I don't mind admitting it. Who won't change me? So we get spoiled. We forget the amount of money that we've invested and the quality that has come in. So I think it's going to be a quiet one for Watford on transfer deadline day.
He just drove off next to us. Let's pretend to be Volta. We got our game against Manchester.
Do
you want to light? Yeah, do you want to set the light?
Where's my pretty translator?
Who are you going to start as your 11 on that game against Manchester United? Let's go. Goalie.
Gomez.
Okay. Oh, that's a crazy choice. Yeah. I'm going to say he's going to start with a back three. If you could pick a back three, who would you pick?
I think Prodal's shown himself to be quite popular. Cabool's come in, so I'm assuming he's going to be coming for a reason. Good question, though, isn't it? Kabasele did well today. Cathcart's a good one. Britos, depending on whether he's had any sleep or not.
You're just naming players, Jordi.
Yeah.
You need to pick.
Who's your back three? Back three going to be then?
Britos and the other two I mentioned, Prodal and Kabool.
Who's going to be that 5 midfield?
Right. Amrabat, Pereira, Capoue, I guess Holebas, and the unexpected mystery deadline day signing.
Not Barami.
No, I've been given a tip. There's a guy who's dyed his hair blonde, plays out in Catalonia. He's dyed it blonde because he wants to match his shirt.
You've mentioned two players. You've mentioned two players there in Barami and Holebas, and I think both of those deserve credit. I think Barami, what he's doing now is doing the tough stuff, but he's doing it very neatly and tidily. He doesn't draw the eye like he did in the Championship, where he's almost like a sort of rampaging nutcase, in effect. Not the Championship, when we signed him last year. He felt like there was always a foul, a yellow or a red card in him, whereas now he's doing it. He's just as strong, he's just as firm, but he's very neat. He's just getting it. He's not a walking yellow card. He's not getting under the skin of the ref or the opposition. I think he was terrific again today, and I think Holebas is really slow. Is turning his Watford career around, and is starting to show some flashes of that going forward. How dangerous he can be. And I thought he took Arsenal by surprise a little bit this afternoon when he broke forward, and he's going to surprise the goalkeeper soon enough when he gets a left footer off. So I think Barami and Holebas both should deserve singling out for a bit of praise. I think they've done great.
And then up front, Jordi, your front two. Are you going to make some drastic changes yet?
No, probably not yet. But that's if we stick to 3-5-2. I think that centre back position is up for debate. I think the wing backs, maybe Janmat for Amrabat, but that's pretty much Holebas. I don't know who else can play that position. It's kind of, we've gone through the depth chart and yeah, but I don't know if he's fit or if he's just not. Is he a left wing back? Is that his favourite position?
But you play both, I thought.
Yeah, but Holebas is obviously number one. He hasn't got Aki there. There's no antagonistic Instagram posts. He's not sick yet. Maybe the results, but not been the fact he's playing. I think the wing backs are Holebas is a shoe-in if he's there. Amrabat probably, unless we decide to go more defensively. But although Janmat's probably not very good defensively, according to Newcastle fans. But anyway. Front two, it'd be interesting to see why they'd be broken up. But I don't know if we're going to stick with a 3-5-2. There was a point when Janmat came on for Kabasele. It almost looked like we'd switched to 4 at the back very briefly, and then obviously the changes happened again, and kind of threw the kitchen sink a bit at it a little bit towards the end. But I do wonder whether 3-5-2 doesn't give us the adaptability during the game that maybe a 4-3-3, a 4-5-1 would. And give us the extra strength out wide that maybe he feels he can get what he wants from 2 centre backs, doesn't need 3, and maybe use as defensive midfielder as the 3rd centre back rather than 3 established centre backs. So that makes sense. So maybe have Barami dropping back into centre back position, depending where the ball is, but use him as a shield and then give yourself more width. So I think this international break, to go back to your question earlier, isn't just about getting to know you and working out where your locker is and stuff in the change room. Will we see Walter change from a 3-5-2 that he's kind of established forever? Because we saw Kike do the same thing around this time last year. And maybe things that work abroad and managers who haven't managed in the Premier League have these established things, and they come over here and go, Christ, they attack here. Even if you're playing a lower league, the team lower in the league, they still attack you, and you don't get the time to dwell on it. And if you do play without fullbacks, they'll get around the back on the sides. And we saw Oscar drifting over there, and Cathcart getting pulled out. And do you just say, well, if maybe we just default to 4 at the back if that's where we're going to get pulled out to? And Holebas, obviously, that would allow someone in front of him, and Holebas is attacking, and Jan Mat's attacking, so we'd still have plenty of width, but we'd have more adaptability. And I just wonder if that's what we need, because we've seen the second half of last season to be a bit predictable, and I think the first half of this season, certainly in an attacking sense, we haven't had anywhere near the threat when you consider that we turned down like gigantic bids for our 2 centre forwards, and we're not getting the best out of them.
Thank you very much for listening. We might do a bit of a Facebook Live in a couple of weeks' time, a couple of days' time on the transfer window deadline day. Make sure you follow us on all social media at Watford Podcast. And if you are listening on iTunes, then please whack that subscribe button. And if you feel like it, leave us a review. It's always quite nice. Thank you very much. The next game, we're off to the Olympic Stadium. What's it called? Anyway, who cares?
Is it the London Stadium?
Whatever, I don't care.
Tesco Stadium.
Tesco Stadium, yeah. I've seen West Ham, they're a bit boring. What's your prediction going to be, Mike?
They're not boring, they're very volatile, West Ham, and we will take advantage of their state of flux to pile further misery on the now out of Europe Hammers with a stunning 3-0 away victory.
We'll have a bit of that, we'll have a bit of fun. Thanks for listening. Do tell your friends, and come on, you all.